Welcome to Explaining the Plays Big Spell Mage Edition. I'm Uncorrupt. I'm going to be going over my thought process and exactly what I'm thinking and why I'm doing what I'm doing while I'm playing the Big Spell Mage deck. Right off the bat here, it looks like we're going to be up against a Druid. You always have to make an assumption about what deck your opponent is playing when you make the mulligan. With Druid, it's an impossible assumption to make. I've seen 30 card alignment, 40 card alignment. There's also aggro Druid. Belinda is always a keep. It's just one of the power cards in the deck. I think I like to keep this in case it's aggro, because if it's aggro, we're in danger of getting run over. Mailbox Dancer is kind of a mixed bag. It gives us a coin and would allow us to coin Belinda early, but it also gives our opponent a coin. I think it's actually going to hurt us more than help us, potentially, in any Druid matchup. So I'm going to toss that, and this is going to be what our mulligan looks like for this particular match. Right off the bat, I'm not sure how well things are going. So we can see that our opponent is Renathal, so that seems that it would be either 40 card alignment, or potentially it could be still the Lady Prester Druid, which is also a thing. So potentially Far Watch Post could be doing us some work here. Just being able to slow down our Druid opponent is going to be good. And we see that it actually is going to be the Lady Prestor version. So as soon as they play this minion on turn one, we know alignment doesn't play this card. It's going to be Lady Prester, so they're going to be wanting to get out Lady Prester, and then they're going to try to scam us with random dragons. We're going to want to try to do some scamming of our own. Question is it worth it to just get this down? Any minion that we play is going to die immediately, so we definitely want to play something, I think, here. We don't just want to do nothing, although we could just pass turn here. Pass turn, and then we have this on 3 with a free ping to kill that. I think that seems pretty reasonable. We're just going to ping face here. We were still able to spend our mana just by Hero Power face. Hero Power, of course, is like the weakest play you can make in the game. It's the worst 2 mana that you can spend, but it felt reasonable here just because we're going to have a decent turn 3. We'll be able to get something on the board. We'll be able to remove this. Unfortunately, with the line that we've taken, we can't contest that, so we're going to get a couple of cards that are going to be increased in cost. But the good news is we should be able to remove this by the time we get down to Belinda. We may still be able to make this trade, and then we'll have like Ping and Mailbox Dancer for turn 4, and then turn 5 is going to be Coin Belinda. That's unfortunate. We'll still be able to remove it for next turn, though, unless our opponent's able to get out a taunt. So I think we just keep to our plan. We want to get the Mailbox Dancer down, and then we're going to get our Pelican down here. And of course, we're going to hold the coin to be able to play Belinda. Belinda's going to be our power card. It's going to get us a couple of 5 mana spells, assuming we're able to kill this. We can't kill this, then they're actually going to go to 6 mana, I believe, but I've never actually seen that interaction. That'll be interesting. If this happens first, then there'll actually still be 5 mana spells. Our opponent plays Guff, really, really strong for him. Guff, of course, one of the strongest cards in Standard. Now, one of the things that I would encourage you is, when you're trying to learn something, you need to be asking and answering the 2 highest impact questions. And those 2 high impact questions are why and how. So we've actually drawn a Drakefire Amulet here. That's going to make it... we're going to end up with a 50-50 as far as whether or not we get the second Drakefire Amulet, which is probably what we would actually want with the Belinda here. So we definitely want to make this trade first, just because I don't want to see what that interaction looks like. And this trade is always going to happen as well. And then we're just going to coin our Belinda, and actually hoping that we hit the second Drakefire here. And it looks like we do. You can see on the tracker we hit 1 and 1. So next turn, it's going to be playing the dragons. So our opponent likely plays Lady Prestor. We're going to play the Drakefire Amulet. And of course the 9 damage goes face, 9 damage always goes face. So, oh, they actually don't, oh, okay. Yep. So, here's a good example of, the why and the how. The strongest play we can possibly make, we always want to make the strongest play, is going to be the Drake Fire Amulet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to cause us to float a mana, but it's still the strongest play that we can make. And we just want the biggest, strongest dragons that we can get. So that's going to be the 8/8. We don't have a whole lot of spells to be able to take advantage of this, so we're taking the 8/8. And then we are going to take the second 8/8 that's also going to put a lot of 1/1s on the board. And then the question here is, do I make this trade? Well, do is a low impact question. What's the high impact question? Why? Why would I make this trade? I would make this trade if I was scared of this minion, but I'm not scared of this minion. I want to be able to go face. I need to start killing my opponent now before they can do really, really powerful dragon things. And then we're also just going to make the trade here. Ideally, you would probably want to trade first, but there was no card we were going to draw out of our deck that was going to change the play. This is really good too, by the way. It's going to replay the dragon card once we get it down. A really strong card in the deck as well. That's just a perfect turn 7. But again, making this trade is just bad. We don't care about this minion. We just want to go face and start trying to kill our opponent. They're likely going to remove some whelps. This, we're going to trade one of our whelps for, if possible. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have too many spells to be able to combo with this. But we're looking pretty good in the game so far. Of course, this deck can absolutely scam with the dragons that they can discover. That was really low impact. And they're going to get some more random damage here. But again, we're likely just going to be looking at sending our damage face. Definitely going to get down Dawn Grasp. That's going to give us 2 dragons. And then just be looking to kill our opponent. So this, I think, is going to be a priority trade target just because we don't want that random damage. And actually, now that I think about it, is it though? So the question is, why is it a high priority target? They were able to get a favorable trade. That's good for them. The reason why it would be a high priority target is if they were going to be able to clear our board, but they're actually not in a position to be able to clear our board. So definitely our biggest damage minions are going face. We do not miss face damage with these big minions. We're going to trade 2 of these whelps into the minions that we can kill. And then we're going to replay Dawn Grasp because Dawn Grasp is going to give us 2 random dragons. So the rest of these are going to go face. Again, we don't care about the 2/3. And then we're going to get Dawn Grasp down with our 2 random dragons. And you can see in turns green, so we'll pass. Sometimes you can summon like a raid boss Onyxia that has rush. So unfortunately we got some lower damage minions, but they are minions nonetheless. Our opponent probably now is really just looking for a Deathwing randomly created from their deck to be able to remove our board. But even then, we're kind of in a position that we'll be able to kill our opponent relatively quickly just with the hero power because the Magister Dawn Grasp is just so strong. So we're going to have to see what they do here, but the game may actually just be over. That's a little bit scary, but I'm not sure there's any single card they could create that's going to allow them to prevent us from killing them. Certainly not prevent us from killing them over the course of the next few turns. If we get in trouble, we've got the Rune of the Archmage here, so we'll be able to play that if they somehow remove our board and develop their own board. They're drawing lots of spells here, so this is an example of why maybe you want to remove like the Matron Hala, just because they can draw so many spells and they can play so many spells, and then you have the repeated arcane missile effect going off, 4 damage for every spell that's played. So things have shaped up really well for us this game, and we're just expecting to close it out. It's like payday, baby. We're just waiting for that check to actually hit our account. This looks like, yep, and actually you can see here a rope concede, so we played that game really well. We hit our power cards, and we took advantage of our power cards. So another thing to keep in mind is with Hearthstone, don't get caught up in individual results from individual games. It doesn't matter that we won this game. What matters is, did we play correctly? And I think we did. There were no misplays. We answered the how. We answered the why. We put our damage face when we needed to. We made trades when it made sense because it was better for our board state to make a trade and get those dragons off of the Magister Dawn Grasp. So even if we had lost this game, we're still happy because we played correctly. Correct play is the only thing that we're actually going to be worried about because, as I'm sure you know, Sometimes Hearthstone just selects you to receive a loss. In this game, it was almost like good RNG for us. Maybe Hearthstone actually selected us to win this game. Thank you for that, Hearthstone. We're going to move on straight into the next game. We are back for game number 2. You can see here I'm in the same rank I think that we ended the last game on. So if you're not familiar with explaining the plays, I play consecutive games on the ladder. I don't try to cherry pick games where I play one game and then there's 3 games in between and then another game. I feel like there's more that can be learned from an organic laddering experience, and that means, you know, if I lose, I lose. I feel like you learn more from the losses and the misplays than you do from the wins. Our opponent is Rogue here, so we know that this is going to be Bomb Rogue / Death Rattle Rogue. It's likely going to be a really tough matchup for us, so we have to really consider what we want to do here. We're definitely keeping the Barbaric Sorceress. I'm almost tempted to keep the Bran and just tempo it out. And I'm going to do exactly that. So this looks weird, and to be honest, I'm not sure if this is correct, but if the Bran is on the board, our opponent has to kill it. And then if we're potentially able to go like Bran on 3 and they can't kill it, and then we play a Deep Water Evoker on 4, that gives us a lot of armor. We now have a target for the Barbaric Sorceress. We also have Belinda in hand here. So right off the bat, we see that my assumption was incorrect. Our opponent is actually going to be Quest Rogue, so that's really interesting. So now I need to keep in mind, what's this going to be doing? The Rogue wants to be playing their SI cards. They need to be able to complete their quest and, just kill us from there. So we're going to want to keep those things in mind. Not really anything to do here but ping. I am not going to be playing a Tempo Bran on 3. We're just going to get down the Treasure Guard. So expecting to see, yep, there's an SI card. And I believe we're just going to get down our Treasure Guard here. We are going to have one decision to make. Whether or not we play Belinda on 5, or if we're going to play the Barbaric Sorceress on 5. I believe we're going to just play the Belinda on 5. If we do that, though, the Barbaric Sorceress actually gets significantly worse for us. We're just going to go ahead and make this play. Because we could potentially, we have 5 call spells in our hand, and it's not as valuable. So our opponent, though, this deck, I think, tends to play a lot less spells, maybe than some other rogue decks. So there's not guaranteed to actually be a target that our opponent can kill. So they're actually going to be able to clear our board and be able to push 2 damage face. That's going to be good for them. This is a decent pickup for us. We're just going to be looking to spend our mana turn 4 again into Belinda turn 5. Our opponent is potentially going to be able to just remove our one big Belinda with the SI7 Assassin. That's a risk we're going to have to take. We're going to need to be able to get these cheap spells. I believe what we're going to do is going to be Pelican Diver and then just get out our freeze effect here to give us the free ping. And then we'll have Belinda on 6. Maybe we can freeze a minion on board, or likely we'll definitely be freezing a minion on board. Again, this floats 1 mana, but the only other option would be to like Bran. That doesn't seem great. We're just going to save the hero power again. Why? Why would I freeze these? I don't really care about these minions. It could be something next turn that I would rather actually freeze. Our opponent's going to get a discovered spell here. So again, we're just going to coin the Belinda. Likely we expect the Belinda to die, but if they're having to spend resources on the Belinda, that's potentially resources that aren't being spent on us. And we see that our opponent is choosing to spend all of their mana, which is likely a good thing for them to do. And we are going to keep to our plan here. So again, we're going to have the 50-50 on the Belinda as far as whether or not we hit a Drakefire Amulet. We could actually ping and spammy Arcanist to clear the board. That would actually save us more damage, but it just doesn't seem as strong as getting the big Belinda on the board. They have 7 damage. We do have healing in the deck, although we're not going to have necessarily spells in the deck to be able to combo with that. So I think we still only take 2 damage if we make a trade, freeze this, and get the Belinda in play. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Belinda down. So again, we hit the 1-1. We're going to make this trade, and we're going to freeze this guy right here. That's going to save us potentially 2 damage. If our opponent doesn't have SI7 Assassin, then the 9-10 is actually going to stick on the board. They've already played their treasure, so we know that they don't have the Fizzlash to be able to bounce it back to our hand, which is going to be good for us. They could have gotten something off of this, though, that would allow them to do things. We don't like it when our opponent does stuff. Randomly created Siphon Soul, so that's unfortunate. It was an intelligent pick by our opponent, though. I mean, it's easy to look at that and say, well, our opponent high-rolled, but they discovered that, and they said, hey, I need to be able to deal with a big minion. So the play here is going to be Drakefire Amulet, and then Magister Dawngrasp is going to be able to repeat that effect. I don't think we're in any danger of dying. Question here is, do we take the taunt? And I kind of think we do. We have more stats with this. We actually have a taunt with this. We don't have a lot of spells to be able to take advantage of this 412. I think we're just going to take the taunt here, try to save on some face damage. And then we'll take the big 8/8 with Rush. We have a choice here, and again, we have to answer the why. Why would I trade for this? Because I don't want them to discover random hogwash again. That could potentially ruin us. Why would I remove this? Because they could Shadow Step, replay it, and advance their quest. So I think the more dangerous thing is actually this. Them completing their quest. We're going to go ahead and take this trade as well. Our opponent completing their quest is actually the most dangerous thing for us right now. Again, next turn it's just going to be a pretty automatic Magister Dawngrasp. That's going to get us 2 more dragons. It's going to heal us a little bit, and then it's going to upgrade our hero power. It's just so strong after you've already played the Drakefire. There's the SI Assassin, potential Shadow Step. They could also potentially Fizzlash this. They have 1 mana to be able to play whatever treasure they discovered. And they're just pushing some face damage here, discover 1 card. So we're going to want to trade, I think, for the SI7 Assassin. We're kind of getting to a point, though, where we could potentially die just at any time. I mean, even if we make this trade, they're still going to have 7 damage and 3 to go into a minion. This is still going to be our best play, though, I think. Like, we can't ping and set up a spammy Arcanist. We do have taunts in hand. We have a Rune of the Archmage, but just getting the extra bodies on the board. And again, we need to remove this, just because it is an SI7 card. And we're just going to go ahead and play the free box here, I think.
Let me remind you who you're dealing with.
So second Drakefire, hitting 2 taunts thanks to the box is good. This is bad. It gives our opponent spell damage, of course. They've already used 1 Wicked Stab, 1 Tooth of Nefarian, and 1 Extortion. They don't have a whole lot of spells. They're only 11 cards deep in their deck, so this should be fine. That's a high priority target to remove next turn, though. And then they have 2 cards as well that they've randomly created, which could hurt us. The Edwin is pretty good here, but the good news here is that our opponent wins from minions on the board, I think, at this point. We're still at 17. We have multiple taunts in our hand that we can play if necessary. There's an example of randomly created damage. 412. It's also important to note that this actually gives us a free spell. And we hit another rune, so we have 22 damage on the board. And our opponent actually concedes here. We were in a dominant position. I hadn't exactly figured out how we were going to play this turn, but you can see we just make the strongest plays that we can possibly make every turn, and then just trying to answer those questions. Why? Why do I need to make this trade? Why do I need to go face? You know, if I don't want to miss 9 or 10 damage going face. And then also answering another high impact question is how does my opponent kill me from here? You know, thinking about this last game with the quest road, how does our opponent kill us? They kill us by developing a board, and then by having that damage on the board to be able to push face. What's the strongest play we can make to kind of make that game plan awkward for our opponent, while advancing our game plan of just being able to kill our opponent, I guess, is the game plan for every single deck. So, but really being able to answer, again, just those high impact questions anytime you're trying to learn why and how. And when you get really good at answering those questions, then you're actually able to learn and to teach yourself. So there's a difference to me between teaching someone something, which involves a lot of telling, and actually helping a person to be able to learn. Helping that person be able to learn is significantly more impactful. And again, that comes from those two high impact questions that I keep talking about, which is why and how. You get really good at answering those questions and asking those questions, and then all of a sudden you don't necessarily feel the need to go out and maybe try to hire a Hearthstone coach for $25, $35, $50, $75 an hour, or whatever those guys are trying to charge. So that's going to do it for this video explaining the plays Big Spell Mage. I'm Uncorrupt. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking the video. Also, please consider maybe subscribing to the channel. You're going to find more content like this. If it comes to standard Hearthstone, I like to think that I do it all. We got gameplay, we got shorts. I throw in the occasional live stream from time to time. Thank you again for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and good luck out on the ladder.